Hello everyone, my name is Siddharth Gujarati and mine is an entrepreneurship project to set up an educational coaching center in Mumbai. The presentation has been divided into 5 different slides: introduction, methodology, business analysis, findings, and then conclusion. I'm going to take you through each and every section in detail. So, this is an entrepreneurial project, or basically it is a business plan to set up an educational coaching center in Shahpur. Shahpur is my hometown and it's around 60 miles from Mumbai in India. This business plan has been devised by 3 business partners, including myself. I share a very good professional relationship with all the other 2 business partners as well. Now, the educational system in the state of Maharashtra, where Shahpur is based, is K-12. K-12 meaning kindergarten till 12th standard. The first standard to 10th standard is one phase of a student's life, and 11th and 12th is the higher secondary certificate levels, which is where we are going to target the students for our coaching center. Now, in the area of Shahpur, there are 2 major schools and around 750 students pass out every year in the secondary school levels. These are exactly the students who move ahead to the HSC levels, and they are the ones who are our target customers. So, as basic as it may sound, the main purpose of the educational coaching center which we are going to set up is to provide good quality education. The reason being that is not being provided at this point in time to all the students. The reasons for this is lack of opportunities, exposure, infrastructure, and all the other things which leads to the students falling behind in the race towards having a successful academic career. Now, the long-term plan for the educational coaching center as years go by is to have a placement consultancy as well under its wings. I'll explain about it in more detail in the long-term strategy. The initial investment for the educational coaching center is going to be around 200,000 Indian rupees, which is around 2,000 pounds. It isn't a sizable investment, but the returns are really good. The investors are going to be the 3 business partners with an equal share of investment, and the profits will be divided equally as well. And we also want to keep the decision making process centralized, which is why we have kept only 3 business partners in the whole process. Moving on to the methodology. The methodology has been divided into 4 different parts: approach, technique, the secondary research, and the sequence and the rationale. Now, approach basically, as we know in all the thesis, is deductive approach and inductive approach. The deductive approach is the one in which we have the theories and hypotheses, and we use that in the empirical observation. This kind of approach hasn't been used on a larger scale in this project of mine. The inductive approach, which is basically something which you learn from your life stories, personal experiences, and all other factors, and then use it as a theory to build your project. This is the approach which I have used quite a lot in my project proposal. Then the technique, the qualitative and the quantitative. Qualitative is also something which is based on the life stories, personal experiences, and that has also been used. And at the same time, quantitative has also been used. Quantitative deals with the official statistics, the numbers, the graphs, and all those, and those have been incorporated into forming this business plan. Now, the secondary research had to be done, and the data had to be collected from the Ministry of Human Resources, the Government of India official website. The reports were published for the quality of education provided in those schools, and all that data was also incorporated to find out if the students actually get good quality education, what are the facilities provided, what are the other factors which go into a student passing out the final grade. The sequence was pretty straightforward. We had to do the data collection from schools, then we had to understand the competition, and then we had to take a feedback to think if this is a viable option to set up as a business plan. The data collection from the schools was done on a larger scale, so we wanted to get an idea of all the different methods the professors and the teachers incorporate in giving to the students, and then we had to form a business plan based on that. The competition had to be understood because we had to set in one particular place, and we wanted to know what the competition does to actually give training or coaching to the students. Now, moving on. The primary research. The primary research was basically a questionnaire which we had conducted. The sample size for the questionnaire was around 75 students, and we had distributed handouts in actually the college classrooms as well, and we collected the handouts from them then and there itself. The other set of primary research was done when we had actually held a seminar for the launch of the business class, the coaching classes, and at that point in time we had taken a feedback from them, and the findings from the questionnaire are there included in the findings section. The major reason why we had to do a questionnaire feedback is because we wanted to go to the grassroots level and understand what are the exact problems which the students face while passing out from their HSC levels, and why are the grades are not improving as such. Now, when we have devised all these methodology structures, there were also some difficulties and shortcomings in the whole process. The first of them was the process of data collection. Now, the process was pretty straightforward, that we had to understand the quality of education, then devise a plan. But the scale of data collection really was vast, because there were so many schools in the locality that we had to look at the target audience from all those schools. There were schools which were located 10 kilometers away from the locality, 20 kilometers away, but all those students from those locality, they used to come to Shahpur to take their coaching as well. So we had to understand all those aspects in devising a plan. Then the preliminary assumptions. Since the three business partners, we all had gone through the process of passing out the secondary levels, the higher secondary levels. So we had to take a few assumptions, because we know what problems students face. Problems such as, are weekly tests being conducted? Are we up to the standards of what the students are gaining in metro cities like Mumbai as such? So we had to understand all those things, and we knew all those things because we were a part of the process a few years ago. So we had a few assumptions on that front, and we carried them into the questionnaire. Moving on. The business model. Now, there are basically three types of business models, as you can see: a franchise, a private, and a personal model. These are the models which you could call are generally followed in all the metro cities or all the coaching centers in India. The first model, franchise, it is a really large scale model, or you could call a famous model, with many branches being operational in many cities, or many branches operating in the same city. The professors which are hired under franchise model are all reputed ones. Now, when I say professors, I mean professors who already teach in government colleges or private colleges, and all of them, they are hired by the franchises, and they are asked to educate the students under their wings. They are hired on a contractual basis, and their reputation helps the franchise attract many students. The curriculum portfolio in the franchise model is really huge. They cover engineering, medical, higher secondary, lower secondary certificates. So that itself gives them a lot of advantage over others. Moving on to the second model, which is the private model. It is a small scale model, probably situated in one location or one town, and has very limited branches. And the professors or the teachers hired over here are probably from the local colleges, or they are even part-time students as well, who have a history of teaching, or they have already taught in some of the other educational coaching centers. And the student retention for these people, it becomes a little difficult, because students are swayed with their decisions as to where to go, depending on the results the students which were under coaching under that institute, or some other reasons, probably financial as well. And I would also like to tell that we as an educational coaching center fall under this model as well, the private coaching center model. Then the third one is the personal coaching. Now these are operational from homes, and they are really expensive because there's a very limited number of students who take coaching in the personal model. There's probably only for 5 people or 6 people, and the professors who take this coaching, they are some of them are retired professors and they earn good money from them, or some of them are already teaching in the educational institutions, the government ones or the private ones. So the reason why we prefer the private model is because we want to keep the decision making centralized. In the franchise model, you also require investment, but other than that, the decision making is split into many halves, and that probably causes a problem later on. In the franchise model again, the theory of profit is really different. It goes towards profit maximization, whereas we are trying to make profit while achieving other goals as well. So this, as you can see on the screen, is the business model which we are trying to incorporate in education. We are trying to find the purpose, which is giving quality education. Then we are trying to connect it with the students by attracting them towards us. And when we finally connect to the students, we create a business model which would help them and which would help us. It works two ways as well. That is what actually signifies business results. Now all the other things which you see, technology, leadership, values, trust, all these things act as catalysts, and they help the students and us form a good rapport, and then help the whole business model work as a whole. So edupreneurs acting collaboratively. Now edupreneurs, I mean people in the field of education acting as entrepreneurs. That is the term which is called as edupreneurs. So we as edupreneurs want to act collaboratively. We want to focus on improving the gross enrollment ratio. In the city or in a town, I may say, as Shahpur, which is a very remote location from Mumbai, there are very few people who actually move on to the higher secondary levels, from the secondary levels. So all these people actually result in a drop in the gross enrollment ratio, and it comes to only 63% for a country like India, which is really low as compared to the other developing countries. So we need to identify the gaps, and we want to act as a social enterprise as well by trying to get as many students as possible in the higher secondary level and give them good quality education. So to understand the market, I've done a Porter's 5 forces analysis as well. The supplier power in this is really high because they have a very high bargaining power. They can attract students by giving them attractive fee packages, by hiring reputed professors. They can also influence the decisions in those ways. The buyer power is the customer, which is a student. A student has very limited power. The decisions are swayed by reputation, and the reason being is they want to get the best, or they want to do the best what they can for themselves, or their parents want to do the best for their students. So they want to get the student enrolled in such an institute where they get the best quality education. So they would just sway depending on the professors who are going to teach or the fee packages that are being offered to them. The existing competition is really intense. There are 5 coaching institutes in the town of Shahpur, and they endorse in good marketing techniques to attract as many students as possible towards them. That is why they have pricing wars over fees. The threat of substitutes is really low because in a city or in a remote location as Shahpur, the advancement of technology is not on the higher side. The e-learning, or what we call today as the e-medium of learning, is really not that prominent in that area. So it will take time for it to take over, but at present it's really not that big of a threat. The threat of new entrants as such is also moderate because you need to have a good reputation, or you need to have good PR skills to attract students right in your first year. Moving on. So the unique selling point, this is something which differentiates us from the others. And our unique points, when we sat down, we decided that there were 2 major unique selling points which we had. The first being credibility and the second being expansion. Now, why credibility? The credibility of us in the area that we come from is really good because we have gone through the same system. We have had a good life as of yet, and we have excelled in those years as a student. So that is the reason the credibility has been really good for us, and we can actually use it as a competitive advantage for to work in our favor. It also means that we are going to give something back from our personal experience to the students, and that really helps. So we want to create good knowledge and build a learning process which would help the students in their future. The expansion model is something which we want to look 3 years down the line and start a placement consultancy. In that, we would act as a bridge between the students and the employers. There are many industries in and around Shahpur which actually are looking for talented people, and there are all these graduates passing out every year who are jobless, and they can immediately join in through our placement consultancy acting as a medium. The other thing being, after a placement consultancy, we also want to help in the overall development of students, and that's where the placement consultancy would come into play. Moving on, the operations management of the coaching center. The premises is something which is which are going to be taken on a rented basis for an 11 or 12-month contract, and the place is going to be really accessible for everyone from all the major schools. So every day when the students finish their school lectures and everything, they can always come to the coaching classes to take some coaching. The people, there are going to be 2 teachers or 2 of the 3 business partners are going to act as teachers, and they are going to teach on a regular basis, and 1 professor is going to be hired for one of the subjects. The other business partner is going to endorse for marketing or for PR building for the business firm. The scheduling of classes is going to happen every day. We are going to have 2 hours of lectures every day after the school hours, and we are going to also have a weekly test later on. There is no real sense of logistics in the educational coaching center, and that is why it's on a minimal scale. Moving on to the financial analysis, as I already told you, the initial investment requirement is really less. It's only for the rent and the electricity and the marketing purposes. If you could see the figures, the first year what we want to target is 30 students rather. We are going to charge them a fees of around 75,000 for 2 years, and it accumulates to revenues of around 220 to 50,000, that is in Indian rupees. So other than that, the marketing expenses, as you can see, there are a lot of other marketing activities which are going to be going on in the months of May and June, where we would want to attract as many students as possible. Prospectus printing, television advertisements, then we will have to organize seminars, billboards, everything would go in the town to attract as many students as possible towards our coaching center. All of this, once it goes through, at the end of year 1, we hope and we expect to have profits of around £10,000 for the first batch, and we hope it will go through. So the future strategy is divided into 2 parts, short term and long term. The short term strategy is obviously to attract as many students. Then by end of 3rd year, we need to have at least 3 batches of students, meaning 90 students per batch, and we also want to have a library set up by next year, end of next year. The main reason for this is there is no advancement of technology as such, or because of financial reasons, students are not that close to technology as they should be. This is the reason, if we have a library inside our premises, we would always have some technology in there, and that would help students or give them the accessibility to assess or check for other learning materials as such. The long-term plan is to establish a placement consultancy. As you can see, we want to help as many graduates as possible to get good jobs. We want to form jobs database and also encourage people who want to switch jobs. That would that you could say is a really good target audience. And 300 engineers passing out every year, out of which 250 are jobless. Those are the engineers we are targeting to enroll with a placement consultancy and eventually find a good job. Moving on, the findings. These are the findings which we have found out from a questionnaire after a lot of data analysis. Now, the first reason why students don't relocate or travel to Mumbai to pursue higher education is financial. As you can see, 53% of the students from the questionnaire cited this as the reason for not traveling to Mumbai or relocating to Mumbai to pursue higher education. The main reason being the fees. The fees in all the prominent institutions in Mumbai are really high, and they add to the expenses. The second reason is the traveling time. Now, students also have the option of going to Mumbai or traveling to and fro from Mumbai, but this really leads to physical exhaustion and also leads to a lot of time wastage. 37% of the students cited this as the reason. The third reason is competition. There is a cutthroat competition going on right now in Mumbai, in all parts of India, to vie for the prominent colleges, and high cutoff list leads to all the students falling behind in the race, and that is the reason they have to stay back in a city like in a town like Shahpur, which is a remote location. Moving on to the other major findings, what we found out from the questionnaire is there are a lot of other things which ideally should happen, but they don't. A few of them have been listed over here. You could see the weekly tests or exams are not held in the colleges over there in Shahpur at present. There are other things such as doubt solving sessions which are not held as well. There are competitive exams such as IIT JEE or NIIT, which actually act as a launchpad for students towards a good academic career. The students right now, many of them have no idea whatsoever about these competitive exams. What is the surprising fact is parents are willing to pay more to ensure that the students get good quality education, which acts in our favor. And this is the reason we feel that the coaching classes would do a good job. Moving on to the conclusion. Now, I would be very frank and say that the idea of an educational coaching center is really not groundbreaking as such in a country like India. But we do hope that out of the many complex entities that are involved in the educational sector in India, we hope to act as one of the good ones. The projected profits are also going upwards of around 50,000 pounds by end of third year, and we hope that we as edupreneurs act as one of the good influences in the field of education or good quality education. That's it from me. Thank you.